The second paper is HCI research about, say, automated suggestion on decision making. And this paper focuses on how domain experts may react to the automated suggestions. First, let's look at the background. This paper actually, they want to investigate trust and agency in the presence of automated decision aid. And it chooses annotating clinical texts as a task, where there is overloaded terminology and frequent use of shorthand. Here is an example of this task. You can see that the PT, CARBOR, IA, and TNBC. So actually, this text is very hard for lay people to understand, and we need to annotate some concepts to these mentions. And here, the user agency we mentioned is that users may take some initiative or creativity to generate better quality of, say, labels or some to solve the tasks. For example, in the, say, translation task, maybe we can have different translation sentence to the same input, but actually the users are supposed to generate high quality annotations and generate the based sentence to that input. So here is what the user agency may works. And this paper presents the automated decision support can be used to release, say the experts from tedious tasks, while the hypothesis that this may lead to them to lose to a loss of agency. Here, the concern is that in the presence of the automated system recommendations, users may become overly trusting and accept substandard labels instead of taking the initiative to generate better ones. And second, there may form a feedback loop. That means the data created to update the model are actually generated by automatically, say, model decisions. So if this feedback loop forms, then the future models trained on the data become more confident in its error modes. I think it's also something we mentioned in unknown, and something very important. In this paper, users conduct a two-stage study, and their research question is whether for the domain experts, their expertise mediates their interaction with automation. So specifically, they have two studies for each research question. The first one is whether domain experts display misplaced trust and loss of agency that has been described in existing work. And second is that whether they remain critically engaged in the tasks when using automation, that means automated, say, system suggestions. And for the first stage, they only provide, say, neighbor recommendation, and then users are supposed to select from the recommended labels, but it's not automation. And in the second stage, it provides pre-populated automation suggestions. The user only say, it is like the decision support system, like user provide a decision and you can accept it or reject it or modify it. So it's a difference between the two-stage studies. The first stage, the label recommendation for the first research questions, it's not suggestion, it's just a list of recommended labels. Experts can behave according to their recommendations and can also search for further explanation. There are mainly three modes for the recommendation. The first one, there is no recommendation. Experts has to annotate manually for. And the second one with standard annotation recommendations. It means they provide recommendation for all spans mentioned in the text. And the third condition is that a weakened recommendation mode. They just move the correct labels from the recommendation on 25% of long-trivial examples. To illustrate, you can look at this panel. Here is the input text. Every time the users can clip a mention, that means 2 words or 1 word of the sentence. And then here is a label panel, and you can see that there are some recommended labels. Users can select from here and then just denote it as correct. Or users can search further, like they can input some terminology they thought should be correct and then find the best match as the annotated labels. It's a work process, and they also provide code of this interface. The results for this study is that the recommendations increase the annotation efficiency. As you can see in the figure, in the no recommendation mode, the median of the say annotation time is 6 seconds, while for standard recommendation and weekend recommendation interface, the distribution shows the time reduced and its median is 3 seconds. And as the results show, users in standard mode create average 12% more annotations than in non-mode. So it's a statistically significant result that users in this case are more efficient. The authors hypothesize that the decreased workload stemming from recommendations led to a lower cognitive load for users. So decreasing their tag fatigue and create more annotations. Another result is that overall, all modes, actually, you can see in this part, they have very similar performance in the total recall of the performance. However, on the weekend part, we can see that the no recommendation mode and standard mode performs significantly better than the weekend mode, and I think it's an interesting it's an interesting observation from this paper. In the weekend examples, actually, I'm not sure whether you understand what's the weekend examples. It's just some examples that we remove the correct neighbors from the recommendation list. Then, if users want to achieve this accuracy, they should take initiative to search further. So actually, in the weekend samples, the weekend recommendation performs significant worse. You can see that actually the experts don't search further, just choose, say, substandard labels from their recommendation. So actually, finally, it performs much worse. While in the no recommendation mode, they still try to search and get the right answers for the spans. So it's an interesting finding from this paper. The second stage, as we know that with recommendation or with, say, weekend recommendation, there is impact on users. The second stage focus on this research question, or when facing automated suggestions, how users behave. And there are 4 modes. The first one is no suggestion mode. I think it's actually the same no recommendation mode. Users have to do all tasks manually. And the second one is standard. It's also similar to the previous one. It provides a recommendation in all cases. But here, the difference is that they didn't provide a list of recommendation. They just provide a model decision, and then you can choose to accept it, reject it, or modify it. And the augmented state mode is that besides the model's advice or suggestion, it provides the confidence about the suggestion. And the weekend mode is that it increases 21 suggestions over incorrect spans. They want to see whether the experts can find the incorrect spans. Here, you can see the interface to know what's the suggestion. It's like you click the TMBC concept, and here is only one recommended labels. You can choose to accept it, reject it, or search further to find the answers to it. Here, I think they also have many results, but I only try to focus on the most interesting one. Users with pre-populated suggestions exercised less agency in creating new annotations, but they noted the opposite in the exit surveys. Yeah, to illustrate it, you can look at it. So actually in the stage one, they performed maybe consistently better than the stage two. But actually, according to the survey, they reported, they thought that the stage two be more powerful and they work better. I think it's a very interesting observation and may have, say, further directions on it. Users actually didn't notice they lose their agency. That means they don't notice that they don't take more creativity and initiative to create better annotations. And users didn't find it, they even thought it's more efficient. And actually, there are some takeaway messages from this research. First, I think this task is an interesting task. It requires much expertise and hard for lay people. And the second one, some tasks, I think the user agency matters. If users see the agency to automation, a feedback loop will make models even more confident in error modes. I think this is a very interesting point, but I didn't notice in the previous research. And the last is presence of the pre-populated annotation redirected users' attention and caused a loss of agency. And such techniques should be employed with caution. I think it's a very useful opinion, and we may cite it in our later study. Yeah, that's it. Do you have any questions for this?
Yeah, on that last bullet point there with the presence of pre-populated annotations.
Yeah.
What effect does that have on the purpose of the automation then? If you're not pre-populating anything and they have to go through and manually populate all of it, then where's the automation?
Yeah. Actually, the difference you can see from the two interface. For this one, okay, you click everyone, and here we have a recommendation list. You can see, say, a model run, say, annotation on it, and then with probability, we have a list of recommendations. Users can choose from them. Here, I think users are still. Okay.
So instead of having that suggested autocomplete, it's just a direct search to find the right one.
Yeah, I think the design is.
I missed that part.
Yeah. Users in this case take the initiative to choose the correct one. But here in the second stage, users only say accept it, reject it, or say manually label it.
That's super interesting to me that they just went with that and then said that they were like, what they said in the survey is the opposite of what they actually did. That's
I think
honestly funny to me.
Yeah. They find that the users' mindset and their maybe mental models changed. They all even think in this process they are more efficient and more accurate, but actually they are less accurate and didn't notice it.
Gaole, one quick question in this. So was there any notion of cognitive biases that cropped up in these decision-making processes?
Actually, I think they didn't mention, say, cognitive bias, this term, but I think they may mention, I'm not sure actually, but I think they should mention something like mental models or something affect users' perception about the efficiency.
To also to add a remark here, so this automated annotation, right, is actually a perfect use or after case of human AI collaboration. And when we talk about human AI collaboration, there's always this question of when to trust the model, right, the machines.
Yeah.
And for that, all our transparency and accountability work is useful. And not only that, and not only
Yeah,
that,
actually, I find that I missed one result in in this slide. Actually, they find a very important observation that the experts actually in their recommended mode, they have say 99% of perception or when to do it manually instead of accepting the recommendation. Yeah, actually, I think it's a very important finding here.
yeah, if we know based on what the machine make this sort of annotation, right, then the humans can better decide, okay, let's use this machine generated annotation or not. That's one thing that can help, right? And if we know at scale, right, in general, what the machine is good at, what is that is not good at, then it helps really. I mean, then we can speed up a lot this human AI call annotation. Uh,
Out of curiosity, did the authors talk anything about how they incentivized reliance on recommendations? So was it something that users would organically do over time? So is that how they would
Do you
consider?
mean they provide say some bonus or say reward
Yeah,
to
so what,
action?
yeah, exactly. So what was the association between reliance on the tool?
Yeah,
and-
actually, they mentioned this is the limit of this paper. They actually don't provide reward to every correct annotation and no punishment to the wrong annotation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a limit of this paper. But
Okay.
I think yeah, there is a very interesting finding.
Yeah.
Let me just point it.
Okay.
Can you see it? Yeah.
Your slide? What exactly?
Yeah. Can
Yeah,
you
yeah,
see
yeah.
the red point or
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The pointer, yes.
Yeah. Actually, I think this is a very useful one because I used to think that experts and say users of system don't know when they need to say involve and do it on themselves. But actually, this paper presents that the experts actually in 99%
Yeah.
know when to do it themselves. It's a very
That's a super interesting point, right? Especially with the
yeah.
reliance. Yeah. The appropriate reliance question, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's super interesting. Okay. But is there a reason? So how do we explain this, Gaula? Because I think in the works we are doing and just the general understanding, what would lead to appropriate reliance? Because I think 99% is an insanely high number. So is it that the task over here is easy for the experts, so much so that they're really accurate at identifying when they have to lean on themselves, or is it that the
Yeah, I think this is a specific task which is very knowledge intensive. You
yeah
see these words.
yeah
I
yeah
think the participants are all say I think medical major students or some maybe senior
yeah
doctors. So when they look at this say terminology, they know what it is, and I think in a very exact way. So if the recommendation don't appear to be correct,
yeah
they will recognize it and do it themselves.
Okay, this is interesting. So this shows that experts can because it's such a knowledge intensive task, experts can still rely appropriately. So then, can you fill that other gap of it? Maybe I missed it through the course of your presentation. Why would they go ahead with the recommendation? Because it saves them time, is it? So they basically know what the right answer often is, and they rely on the recommendations uh, because it saves them time.
Do you mean the two stage?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, you can see in the first stage, you can click say any word of this sentence, and then here is recommended label lists. Maybe say 10 candidates. You can see from the 10 candidates whether there is one which you think is the correct answer. If there is no, you can follow the second part. You can search That means you can type something you think which is the correct answer and find someone. So this is the first. The second one, actually, when you click some entity as it's pre-populated, actually it's just the like a decision or system advice. It don't have a list. It's only one suggestion. You can accept it, reject it. If you reject it, you can follow the search paradigm to create one annotation for it. So it's a difference. It doesn't provide, say, multiple recommendations. It only provide one.
Yeah,
one
I'm just
suggestion.
trying to, you know, identify what's the role of expertise, right? Because imagine you don't have this suggestion interface at all. Imagine you don't have this tool at all, right? And you just have, I don't know, some physical form or whatever that experts have to deal with. So what this would suggest essentially is that even in the absence of such a tool, experts would probably be really accurate at this task because they know what the right term is, right?
Yeah.
And this whole the system, what the system's doing is helping them save time in a way, or I'm not even sure. Maybe in some cases they don't know what the right annotation should be, but then because of the search system, they can identify what the right one is.
Yeah. Actually, I think it's a start point of this paper. Actually, it's automated decision support for tedious tasks.
Okay.
Because you know,
Okay.
the sentence are very large volume, while the doctors are not so sparse to deal with these documents annotation. So actually, here it means that if we have, say, automated decision support, the doctors can put their attention to much difficult cases, while on some easy cases, they may just accept the recommendation.